Yeah, I couldn't read that.
All righty then.
All right, now
So-
everybody say all of that again.
Is everyone good then, I guess, for having the students here?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in favor of that.
And I like the idea of posting the changes on the website as we go through it, because I know last meeting we had talked about the public not knowing where we are in the process, and maybe they missed something that they wanted to talk about. So having that available on the website will allow them to come in when they actually want to talk about something.
Yeah. Well, should we dive in? All right.
Everybody's taking it up.
You said there is a Word document, it just has to be cleaned up a little bit, or,
Yeah, so I was able to scan this
yeah,
and convert it. There are some things through it, like the, stuff like this that came through as, images.
yeah.
Okay.
So, the black parts and there are a few places where the markings inside of it came up as like wingdings.
Yeah.
So this needs a combing through and make sure that all the extra stuff is deleted, and then, the few edits that would need to be made are made, but it's all in a Word document now. It's just not
Cleaned up.
ready for prime time.
I tried playing with that Saturday morning. I sat there probably for 2 or 3 hours, and what I was thinking is if I could get each segment and like double or triple space in it, so you could write underneath things and whatnot. But boy, it just kept getting worse and worse for me. My word processing skills are weak. The work that I did was fairly incomprehensible even to me, and I watched myself do it. I wouldn't be of much use to anyone else. We need someone that actually knows what they're doing, I think.
Sure.
Because, and again, as we mentioned before, or as I mentioned before, we should be working towards a final goal of what is it going to be, and it's going to be a presentation. It's going to have to be something that, for example, a lawyer can look at and understand what changes we made. And so the council can look at it and understand what changes we made and approve or disapprove and make whatever adjustments they want to make fairly quickly. I mean, we should be the ones doing the work, but they're going to have the final say. So you need something usable so everyone can just look at it, read it, say, oh, okay, I get it, rather than.
Yeah, I think that kind of speaks to the whoever said the whole document being stricken and edited in color, so that there could be a color copy of what the students changed. So it could all be in one form, and you'll see exactly what was crossed out, what was changed, and
Exactly.
that would probably be the best.
Yeah, we just did that at the chamber bylaws this past fall, and that was my experience with the process, but it was really helpful that way.
Before some of us got here, we were discussing where we were going to start, and I made kind of an executive decision, which people around the table agreed with. I'd like to skip over the preface and the table of contents for right now and do those last, so that they reflect any changes we might make and any work that we might do, rather than.
Okay, and I found the original where we had gone over those before, Wally, the preface.
Yeah.
So when we go back to that, I've got that in this notebook that I have.
And I do too. I'm especially looking at the page where we, under instructions for amending the code, how many times we change should to shall, which perfect sense. I think it's exactly right.
Yeah.
But those particular changes, those smaller changes I have, and I'm sure you do too, so that when we come back to them, we can,
It's pretty quick.
we
Yeah.
can adjust them to the work that we're going to do.
Mhm.
So if we start, and my book says page C5, which is the start of the charter with the Article 1 grant powers to the town.
Mhm.
And what's a good way of doing this? Should I read this, or can we all just read it and make suggestions, or?
I've marked up mine, so I think if you just take a section and if anybody has something to speak to it, then they should.
Yeah.
We still all here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So under incorporation, does anyone have any thoughts on that, or was anything that caught your eye, or?
No,
Looked
that's-
good.
Yeah, it seemed fine to me.
Under powers of the town, I had
Look good.
circled impose penalty for the breach thereof not exceeding $100. And
I had,
yes,
yeah, I saw that too, and I wanted to know when that was put in, because the 100 is, well, the 100 listed, rather, they just added the dollar figure, is a larger print, so I didn't know if that had been changed at some point. But based upon that, I was going to recommend that starting the line, let's see, was I was going to change that, or recommend that we change 2 lines above the line above the $100. It starts with of Maine, comma, and impose penalties for the breach thereof, a minimum of $100 unless a lower minimum is set by the council. And that has a not to exceed 100. So it seems to me that was quite a while ago. The junkyard issue, people who repeatedly plow snow where they're not supposed to, $100 if they're, especially if they're being paid, whatnot, isn't that much money to a fair number of people. It is to some, but that would also, that language would allow the council to set lower minimums on like dog violations, or maybe they're 100 for that too, but it would be up to the council to set a lower minimum than 100 on any violation.
that was my thoughts on it too. That seems like a pretty inexpensive way to buy yourself out of being a nuisance. And Charlie, say it again slowly, what you.
Oh, yes, the line above where it says exceeding $100 of Maine, comma, and I'll tell you where I make the change. After the thereof, I eliminate not, and I add a minimum of $100 unless a lower minimum is set by the council. That allows the council to either set a higher, such as multiple violations, the fine goes up. It may sit there and say a certain violation warrants higher than $100 violation. And it allows the council to say, if you don't mow your lawn, we're going to fine you $50 or $20 per day or something like that. That's a lower minimum, but the council can decide on that. I see, Sherry.
Yeah, could we simplify that with just saying and impose penalties for the breach thereof? Beginning at a minimum of $100 and continue that sentence as it is?
Well, thereof kind of is a beginning from that point. That the
Thereof.
I mean, yeah, thereof kind of means
Thereof,
starting.
a minimum of $100.
Yeah.
Is that clear enough?
Well, the reason I wanted the council to have the authority to set a lower minimum for some violations, such like I said, not mowing the lawn, is it $100 a day or whatnot? Some instances, I think that $10 a day, 20, if the council wants to take that type of action, we would allow that. If we don't do that, then it's going to require a charter change if the council wants to set some lower. But if we put the language in there, unless a lower minimum is set by the council, because there's a variety of violations to the charter and the laws.
So $100 in any case, in any one case, and then there's a comma, and you would put unless.
I didn't have in any case, I just said a minimum of $100, comma, unless a lower minimum is set by the council. That leaves it open for the council under this part of the charter to set, well, one, it's a minimum, so that means they could set a higher, and two, they could set a lower minimum on some instances, where they'll have them come back and change the charter.
Okay, so we're saying impose penalties for the breach thereof, comma, a minimum of $100 unless a lower minimum is established by the council.
Established is fine, yeah.
Any other thoughts on that?
I agree with that.
Paragraph?
Yeah, are you keeping the language after that, Charlie, in your suggestion, or did you delete the rest?
Yes, in the rest of it, in any one case, to be recovered to the use of said town by appropriate act would stay.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, you know, if you got someone whose dog is, they're not picking up dog waste on the Mishi Trail, that it's a nuisance, but it's entirely different than someone that's burning trash in their backyard and threatening to light the neighborhood up in dry weather, you know? I mean, they have to be dealt with differently.
Which one is higher, the dog waste or the fire?
If I never see the fire, but I wind up stepping in dog shit, I don't know.
I carry multiple bags when I walk mine.
Okay, all right, well, that was one that I had flagged. And B,
Fine by me.
B seemed okay to me, yeah.
It does to me.
C seems particularly wordy.
Charlie must have written it.
I wasn't that old. You're talking about Dean. He gets paid by the time in the word, so.
There you go.
I kind of got a kick out of reading C,
Yeah,
because it pretty much, what it says to me is, well, maybe the charter covers it, maybe it doesn't, so we're gonna do whatever seems right anyway, you know?
It's almost like it could start with the charter shall be liberally construed.
Only to the benefit of the town, though.
Yes.
Well, that really covers you for when, you know, things evolve to an extent, meaning, you know, reviews and republishing of the document. So that you can make the decision that you need to, about that.
So for that section, can
Okay?
we
Sorry, I'm
just,
thinking through that as I'm talking.
just eliminate that for a sentence.
I did.
Yeah.
This is beautiful brown eyes over here.
We got sucked right into those eyes.
But that's the thing, I mean, there are so many surprises that come up, it's like, wow, who would have thought you'd ever be dealing with this?
Right.
And that's kind of what that paragraph gives you permission to do it, you know, to deal with it, so.
I think it's important to keep that.
Yes.
And councils in general, you know, if the odd thing shows up or the unusual thing shows up, you know, we always handle it. We need to talk to a lawyer about it, we do that, you know, if we need to talk to MMA about it, we do that. We, you know, it's not like this gives permission to be a knee-jerk thing, it just gives permission to move forward and to look at things. So,
I'd recommend that first sentence in C be removed and leave the rest.
I'd
Say that again, Louis?
I'd recommend we eliminate the first sentence in C. I mean, it states the obvious, we're gonna take, we're going to be as liberal as we, you know, are allowed to by state law and whatever.
and the remainder of the paragraph says the same thing. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm not hearing it very well.
What they're recommending is to eliminate the entire first sentence, because the second sentence says a very similar thing or the same thing. Maybe in redundancy. Is that? I'm hearing that correct.
Yes, that was what.
Somewhat redundant.
I'd be in favor of eliminating the first sentence. I would eliminate in the second sentence on the charter shall be liberally construed to the end the town may have. I was taught in high school and college, the word that is overused. To the end the town may have the powers necessary or convenient for the conduct of its municipal affairs. It's minor in nature, but
You want to eliminate the word that?
correct.
Not a problem with me.
I'm not sure that I would agree with that statement that you just said.
nope.
Yeah, that's quite a discussion, that's right.
That is.
Yeah,
Liberally construed to the end, but
to the end the town may have, yeah. That the doesn't need to be there.
Pretty sure there's an app we can just put this document in and it'll tell us the best way to,
grammar, yeah.
even Google Docs will do it for us.
I'm fine with removing that.
What?
It doesn't sound right. The charter shall be liberally construed to the end the town may have all the powers necessary or convenient for the conduct of its municipal affairs. Somehow without that, it just doesn't sound right.
I feel the same way.
What if end was changed to the point the town, may have, or
Yeah,
if the end was changed to a different word?
word.
Or just change from to the end that to solve. The charter shall be liberally construed so the town may have all the powers necessary or convenient.
I think we should just agree whether or not we should remove that.
Yeah,
And I don't care either way.
yeah. That's not a killer for me either, if it stays the way.
Charlie, if you think it's more grammatically correct, I'm okay with it.
Well, we can check with the English department on essay writing. You don't see the word that in too many statutes.
We're removing that.
Well, I'm not sure that there's a majority agreement to that.
We had members say that we should keep it.
We're using that a lot here.
I think we go to the chair for final decision.
Yeah, I think we're gonna leave this then.
We'll leave it for now.
The great and powerful laws has spoken.
Gotta use a pencil from now on.
Yeah, that would be a bad idea. Okay.
Well, the next section, obviously changing his to there.
I thought that the end of that should read the last sentence. Each member shall be elected for a term of 3 years and or until a successor is elected and qualified.
Why can't it just be until?
Until a successor?
Mhm.
Well, the or is if somebody resigns. Because it's not till the end of the term. If somebody resigns, somebody's being appointed to fill the remainder of that, or somebody's being elected to serve the remainder of that term. And that was, but I guess, because it doesn't reference how you, in this particular section, or right here, how you fill a vacancy. That comes a little bit later.
Well, the first thing I'm seeing, and it's the point that Steve just made, changing his to there, so that we're including
Right.
counselors. We want to make this this gender neutral.
Yeah, they and their.
Yep.
I absolutely agree with that all through the document. We should be doing that.
Exactly.
I'm fine with that.
So Charlie, you're saying adding and or before that, if someone resigns.
Well, I guess the term of 3 years, and until their successor is elected and qualified. So if somebody steps down, then an elector becomes qualified by the act of the Register of Voters giving us, the council, an election result, a special election result. So
Yeah.
I think it's broad enough to include how we do it.
On the other hand, there are sections coming up that deal with what to do if a counselor,
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's another section
or
that will,
resigns or is fired or whatever, there's a whole mechanism for that. So I think basically what this is saying is here's how you handle it normally, and then there'll be another idea on how to handle the the other aspects of it. So I'm not sure that we should change this other than his to their, myself,
I'm fine with that.
one opinion.
Yeah, me too.
So the next section, the very first word, councilman, should be council member.
Counselor, I would change it
I
to.
think
That's,
counselor,
Yeah, but I spent time looking that up, and it should be counselors with 2 L's. Some. Hello, anybody there?
I agree.
We agree with you quietly.
There's a silent-
Louis, nobody was objecting, just take it, take it as consent.
Take it and run, huh?
No news is good news.
no, councilman to counselor,
Plural.
Yeah. Counselors with 2 L's.
counselor, yes, okay.
But then again, at the bottom, that's the counselor shall cease to possess any disqualification. So I am curious though, at the end of this, shall immediately become vacant. Obviously, it's held fine up until this point, but according to who? Who removes them? Is it the council? Is it the town lawyer? I'm just curious. Charlie, do you know?
It's always been the council
Okay.
that judges the other members in that. Now, should we define, what moral turpitude is, or, I mean, like driving into a snowbanking, or?
Yeah, I have an issue with that. I have an issue and a change suggestion for that, where that turpitude, where Charlie points out that turpitude is a subject of terminology. I would change that sentence to read, shall be convicted of a crime not waived by vote of the sitting council. And then for their office shall immediately become vacant.
Well,
You know,
Louis, this is a pretty broad discretion, a conversation reference to what is criminal and not. You've got civil, criminal, you've got tort.
my thinking is that anything other than criminal, we probably would let slide, given on our past history of what's gone on. I mean, we've had OUIs let slide, and that's a criminal offense. So in order to give the sitting council the discretion of which crime they're willing to accept, I would suggest that we, or shall be convicted of a crime not waived by a vote of the sitting council. That way, they can evaluate whether they're willing to accept that particular crime as something they're willing to put up with in the council. And it's going to change over time. OUIs in the past were a misdemeanor. They were nothing. And now,
Now there's something.
yeah, now there's something.
You know, if you leave a restaurant and you had 2 or 3 beers, say, and you're just driving home and the cop stops while you're backing out, that's entirely different than if you get hammered and try to run over your ex-wife, you know? I mean, there's degrees in there, and
Yeah, but one might be justified.
yeah, that's right, that's right. There's also degrees in there, like suppose it got away from me by drinking a little bit, and the council decides we're going to get rid of you, and I say, no, you're not. And where does that leave you? I mean, this is not much leverage or information in this to help with that.
You know, there was a time period that shooting a moose, driving intoxicated, or molesting a child, only 2 of those were mandatory sentences. And the last one was not.
Yeah.
So I think we need to tread carefully here and we might want to have a broader conversation before we try to change it tonight. I'd like to get a better definition of the classification. I've been out of it for 30 years, so I'm not that sure, because obviously we have A and B and C crimes. We have D and E crimes. I think D and E are the lower two that we probably would not want to do anything, but I don't know all of the things that fall into that category. And I'm willing to talk to some, a couple, I see the Attorney General a couple times a month. We have dinner and stuff like that. I can ask him if he has any input. We can ask MMA how they address this and other towns address it. Probably best to go through, maybe have Peter contact MMA and just how do other towns define criminal behavior by a counselor or a city official or municipal official.
I still don't think we're gonna get to an objective definition of what we.
Yeah, and well, let me make this suggestion then. Let's save a few of these. And we'll mark where they are. And rather than like call MMA and then next time we have a meeting, let's call MMA. Let's save a few of these. And then we can call MMA with a series of questions and get some clarification then with a block of stuff so that we're not sputtering our way through this. Does
That
make
makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And also, while we're at it, that his/her, I would like to change to their.
I agree. I thought that in the previous motion, wherever we saw that, we'd put in there.
Yeah, they or there, or change the structure of the sentence. Because
Are we moving on to the next section, the powers and duties generally?
That's where I'm at.
So for that first sentence, can we cross out the "be" and? The members of the town council shall constitute.
She's saying after town council, cross out shall be.
No, B
Or
The
be in
members
an,
of the
excuse
town
me.
council constitute the municipal officers. Not shall be and.
just pluralize.
Okay.
Eliminate the "be" and the "and," correct?
Delete those, the "be" and "and."
No,
Yeah,
Probably, it's redundant here. Third sentence from the bottom, just cross out and the municipal officers all have.
Agreed.
So it already refers, the whole section already refers to municipal officers.
It's redundant.
Yeah.
so comma after state, have all the powers.
Yes. It should say and have all the powers.
Municipal officers.
And perform all duties required of municipal officers under the laws of this state heretofore vested in the town meeting, subject to provisions of Article 9. So to me, with taking out the and the municipal officers all have the powers, it still flows as a understandable statement.
So are we taking out the and except as otherwise specialized?
I'll read it how I was suggesting it, and then you
Okay,
can tell me what you're thinking. So I'm on this, I'll start halfway through the second to top sentence where it says municipal officers under the laws of this state and have all the powers heretofore vested in the town meeting. So basically deleting the municipal officers all.
Hmm,
Because the whole thing refers to municipal officers anyway. The sentence right before it, or the section right before it, municipal officers under the laws of this state and have all the powers heretofore vested in the town meeting, is my suggestion.
okay. Was municipal officers defined as councilors? I mean, that's what you assume. That's what anyone would assume, I hope.
Yes, that's the first sentence in that section. The members of the town council shall constitute the municipal
Okay,
officers.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Municipal officers under the law of the state have all the powers heretofore vested.
And have all the powers heretofore vested.
I kind of agree with Sherry. You don't need the words have all the powers heretofore. Should be state
Well,
or here, just the word heretofore.
The state, and then
Of the
Sounds
state
like
heretofore
and
vested in the
but-
town meeting.
I think what they're shooting for here is the transition from what do they call it, like what East Onocket has, selectmen form
selectmen,
to a
Yeah.
council form of government. And what they're saying is now that you're not a selectman form of government, the councilors do everything that the town meeting
Yes.
used to do. So if, I don't know that we should be fine tuning, adjusting that so much as maybe getting rid of it, but I mean, it's been a long time since anyone's argued that we're selectmen versus councilors. We are councilors here. That's the council and manager form of government. That's what we are. But as I'm reading that, that's what I'm seeing that was to make that transition.
I'm just seeing that that's a redundant sentence. It's lengthy and it's not clear.
it may be for a purpose, as Wally is suggesting, because there's a different set of statutes for selectmen than there is for town councilors or for council form of government.
Yeah, I'm suggesting we keep it, just take out repeating municipal officers over and over again.
Yeah.
So basically, under the laws of this state and have all the powers hereto vested in the town meeting. I just don't think we need to constantly refer to municipal officers since it's already been established that's what we're referring to.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. Steve, read it one more time, how you have that.
Okay, I'll read it from halfway through the top again. Municipal officers under the laws of this state and have all the powers hereto vested.
Why would you have and?
Well, because it's suggesting multiple areas of authority. So and is basically adding to the list.
Okay,
Because if
even
you,
though it has that above. Shall
As
have
well.
powers and authority given to and perform all duties required of municipal officer under the laws of this state. and have all the powers. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Uh, Article 9 of the Constitution is general provisions. Article 8 is municipal home rule. I'm wondering if that has been amended or changed, an article renumbered in some fashion, that we might be referring to Article 8, municipal home rule versus the general provisions, which includes oath and subscriptions, administrative oaths to the governor and state legislators, power of taxation, valuation, tenure in office, removal by impeachment. It does include school districts, watercraft, historical preservation, which I'm not sure are at the municipal level. It includes the Attorney General's powers and how you remove a sheriff from office, which is left up to the governor. I think
So
we're going to need to
we
check
could-
this.
You could add Article 8 to it.
Well, I'm just saying, it might be Article 8, not Article 9. I have a dog barking to go out.
Which nominated him for something. He's gone.
Charlie's down the chair.
Well, maybe that's another point we research and come back to, whether it's Article 8 or 9 or both.
Yeah, probably another MMA question.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand that.
Charlie was saying that they may have changed the articles. It may be Article 8 instead of 9 that deals with the provisions that are referred to here. Or they might both refer to it in the state. So basically checking with MMA on if that's been amended since this charter was created, if it's still applicable. Charlie, I suggested we just added that on the list of stuff we ask MMA, if you're good with that.
Did you get that, Charles?
Yes, I did, yeah.
We still recognize that without limitation of the foregoing, the council shall have the power to appoint and remove the town manager.
Yes,
Just making sure.
In that first,
Maybe
A,
we should remove the town manager. I think we should strike that part,
Only
take
a
that
point.
power away from the council.
nice try.
we could,
Remove the by or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
we could amend remove to execute.
hey, depending on how this ends,
Yeah, it's not over yet.
that might be a better option.
All kidding aside, though, given our recent history with this kind of thing, later on there, it says, review the Board of Appeals, Planning Board, and determine the manner of appointment. I would think that we would try to clarify the word manner to what we are actually doing with those positions. And I would also add the newly created position of CID to the list.
I think the problem with that is the position of assessor, treasurer, and town attorney are positions that are recognized federally, statewide, and in certain corporations that hold necessary positions for the functioning of the town that are more administrative and very different than any other typical job. These appointments are kind of essential to the functioning of the town as an organization and have different, we have different authority over those than we do any other employee. We don't have any other authority over other employees.
No, I agree and recognize the fact that they're exempt and that we budget for their salary and they're hiring the person that is chosen. But I'm not talking about the first part of that. I'm talking about the officers that are listed, assessor, treasurer, and town attorney. The community initiatives director should be added to that list. And the manner of appointment is something that I find
Weird.
well, yeah, we know how we do it. We know how we're doing it. Why don't we specify how it should be done?
Louis, I'm not opposed to what you're suggesting, but I'd really want to stop and think about adding another one to the councils versus the managers, naming and putting into a position. I think currently CID is similar to some of the other department heads and offices that we have. I'd need to think about it before I'd agree to include
Well,
this.
yes, I agree with you there that that CID position is of the level of treasurer, town attorney, or assessor.
I'm not
It
sure.
is a full-time job. If if we review the job description and the order that we pass for that job, it works directly with these people. It's going to have to be collaborating or leading in some instances when it comes to grant administration, some of these people. So
That's just, I think
They're
that's
all
true of
about-
I think that's true of every department head. And I look at this as like public works and wastewater and human resources. I don't think the council should have,
I don't,
like I said, I want to keep an open mind on it. I'm not
Right.
closing it off, but
Yeah.
I'm not,
I'm just saying that the department heads that you're mentioning, the lower level ones, other than the treasurer and assessor, like the public works or airport or waste management, they don't work with multiple department heads. And this CID position is going to work with all of them.
public works with all of them. Ralph is helping wastewater, he's helping the school, he's helping a variety of departments.
But he's not.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep an open mind. But I'm hesitant about adding a position that would be under the council versus the town manager.
Yeah.
I
Well,
have
I
a
think
similar- I have a similar hesitancy. I think it makes more sense to first establish the position in code, which we haven't done yet, and create the actual position. Because if you go to B, the next section, this basically creates, changes, and abolishes offices, departments, or agencies, and this allows us to basically assign additional functions or duties to offices, departments. So I'm perfectly fine with having it either as a department or an office of the CID, which we will still have quite a bit of authority over in terms of assigning additional functions or duties, creating, changing, or abolishing. I think we'll still have what you're suggesting, Louis, is just not putting it in a direct line, I guess you could say, because I don't see that position fitting in with town attorney, treasurer, assessor personally. I think it should fit as an office.
Oh, noted, but I think the salary range, the responsibilities does fit in that level.
I think in the modernization of the towns, this is going to be a fairly common position. So maybe thinking of the future, that should be considered, that it's at this level.
Anyone else have any other thoughts on that?
In the meantime, can we just get rid of manner of
Well,
and have
that's kind
have
of,
it read
I'm not sure if that's the point of this or not.
and determine the appointment of the following officers? Manner of seems haphazard.
Yeah, but doing that, Sherry, would indicate that the council would interview and hire the position, where right now, these positions are pretty much brought to the council by the manager, and we either approve or disapprove through setting a salary range and voting on it.
So that's all encompassed in the manner of.
Well, that's, practice has been, with the treasurer, last treasurer that was brought to us, the council didn't have anything to do with interviewing or choosing, but they basically ratified through a vote by creating, authorizing this. Yeah.
Yeah, then perhaps that should be spelled out for the general public to.
Well,
That's what I'm thinking. However we do it, we should spell it out.
Louis, we get orders to approve the hiring of a police chief and police officers in the past and a number of other things. Those orders really have no standing because we don't hire those positions. The manager does. And somewhere along the line in the past, those orders came up and but if the council turned them down, that doesn't mean the person's gone, because the charter gives the authority to hire those people to the town manager. And I think salary-wise, I think it's in there with the Public Works and the others. Are we going to make anybody at that salary level now under the council?
I beg to differ. The very first line there says, appoint and remove town manager and the town clerk, appoint the board of assessors, and so on. If the town clerk is hired by the town manager, the council has the right to remove him.
The manager. You're talking.
No, appoint and remove town manager and town clerk.
Yeah.
You read that first sentence, we have
Yes.
authority to remove the town clerk.
Yes, because the town clerk is by the charter elected by or appointed by the council.
And so are these other positions that we're talking about. If we wanted to remove them, we could go over the objection of the manager. That's how it's written here.
That's how it's written.
Right, but well, if you wanted to get rid of the,
But whether that's practice or not is another discussion. But the way we're reading it here, we have the authority to eliminate these positions, these people.
Well, saying the manner of appointment makes it, to me, a little more muddy. I don't think, when you have manner of appointment, I don't think that means that we can appoint. It's the manner of how they're appointed.
That's right, and the practice has been to let the manager do it.
Well, then that's what we've established, but it's still the manner of how they're appointed. So we can come up with a process of how the manager would appoint them,
Exactly.
but we can't appoint them ourselves.
Whether that be in conjunction with the council sitting in and listening to the interviews or whatever. That manner is a manner. It's nebulous. It can be whatever you want.
Manner is kind of a soft word here. If you're thinking of manner as demeanor, then it doesn't work. But if you're thinking of manner as process, then it does kind of make a statement, determine the process of appointing the following officers.
That's the way I take it.
But, and if it says the demeanor of appointment of the following officers, I mean, we're telling people, we want you to be nice to these people.
well, that's only interpreting it positively, because demeanor could mean in a bad way as well.
Well,
We want you to offer them the job, but we want you to yell at them and call them names.
Yeah,
Begrudgingly offer it.
in any case, it should be clarified.
Because we could set up a process where the manager appoints with the approval of the council. I don't, as one counselor, I don't want us having the town manager say, here's my new public works director, I need your approval.
Well, that's not one that's listed here, Charlie. We're talking about.
I understand that, but we get orders every time the manager in the past historically has named a department head. We got it. We got it when he named Worcester. We got it back when Don Baldrick became the chief and his successor. There was always an order before the council approving the appointment thereof, but we didn't have that authority.
I believe that, yeah, it's approving the contract of the manager so that we could budget that amount of money.
But this last sentence refers only to the assessor, treasurer, and town attorney.
Exactly.
So if we do change manner to process per this, whoa, the suggestion, excuse me, doing some jump roping in my mouth. Then it would at least allow us to determine the process whenever we want. We can establish and change that process at any time. And this keeps it vague, which I think is the intention of the charter, is to keep it vague enough, but still specify who has the authority to do what.
So the way it's worded, the way it's worded, any people listed here can be eliminated by the council over the manager's objection.
That's how it reads.
all right, say that again.
Any positions, the positions that are listed in this first paragraph are positions the town council can eliminate the person over the manager's objection, even if he hired them.
Without limitation.
He hires them one day and we have political bent to get rid of that treasurer, we can do it.
That's how it reads, and I think that's how majority of the citizens of the town think things should be. That the council has the power. I think a lot of them were surprised that in previous.
That we don't have power over all the other positions not listed here.
Yeah.
I don't read it that way. I think appointing and remove the town manager and the town clerk. I think the town manager and town clerk are the only ones that we can remove. Because then it has a semicolon, which is essentially a new sentence, but continuing off of the previous point. It reiterates appoint the Board of Assessment Review. It does not say appoint and remove. And then at the next semicolon, and determine the manner of appointment. It doesn't say.
Okay, so I can agree with that. We have two positions that we can choose the person sitting in those seats
And
over the manager.
I think those are the only two positions that we can remove. All the other ones here we can appoint, except for the last three, we can determine the manner of appointment, which is not the same as appointing.
And my point is we need to clarify what and the manner means.
And that's why it was suggested that we change manner to process.
Process does sound, yeah, it sounds better.
It clarifies it, but it doesn't describe what the process is.
Right.
But I think that's fine. This is a charter. It's not supposed to change very often. So it can come down to the council to determine that process whenever it sees fit. So in other words, we can pass an order later this week that says, here's the new process for how we appoint the assessor, treasurer, and town attorney. And then that's how it'll be until that's changed.
All right, I will agree with that. I like the word process.
Right.
So it's manner to process. No, but you know, that is an interesting point, especially in light of what you guys have gone through for the past few years about, are we tying your hands? And at the same time, we don't want future council just running rampant, I mean,
Yeah.
last thing you want is, wind up like some of the towns in Maine where my cousin's gonna be the one who gets the job because he's my cousin. Doesn't matter about anything else, Yeah, I mean,
Well,
you gotta,
that-
it's gotta be that balance. You've gotta have, the manager.
You can have some
the
accountability, yeah.
ability to manager to manage, but at the same time, you gotta be able to take care of issues. I'm not sure that A is the place for either of those, but
I would suggest that maybe we consider that we should separate appoint and removal. That we have the certain authority to appoint people, but I think the council should have a greater say in removing somebody that, again, going back to a situation we had not too long ago, where the council kind of had their hands tied. And I think in those types of situations, the council should have a say. To what degree that say is, could we suspend them, not necessarily fire them? Can we put them on probation? When it's left up to the manager, and you have a difference between the council and the manager, we had that friction that went on for far too long because the council was hamstringed.
I agree, Charlie. I think perhaps, as we've obviously found out to be true, we can do an investigation of a department, and perhaps in that investigation, we can choose to suspend until we have any results as a council. That way it kind of takes it out of our hand, the human resources side of it out of our hands, takes the investigation of any specific people out of our hands, but it allows us to at least put a pause on someone that we may feel is acting in a way that we don't see fit during an investigation. And we can choose who does the investigation, how it's done, and all that as well.
So do you
Yeah.
change that first sentence in A to appoint, comma, suspend and or remove the town manager and the town clerk?
No, I was suggesting that maybe we add how many do we have here? Maybe we change what B would be, and A would be appoint. We'd let we'd appoint those positions. And then we'd have a section for removal of any officer appointed or hired by the town.
Well, Charlie, if you go to the next page on D, I think that's the section that I'm referring to. D is basically the investigations.
Right, yes.
So if we change that if we change D to allow the council to make any suspensions while the investigation is ongoing, that would kind of allow us to do what you're suggesting, Charlie, while still fitting in with basically the essence of that paragraph. It also makes it so that we're not really making any personnel decisions, but we're leading an investigation. And if we feel that keeping anyone in that position may compromise that investigation, I think that's a valid point.
And I'm with Steve on this too. The two employees of the council are the manager and the clerk. And it says right in our charter that all the other employees are work for the manager. There's a hierarchy through there.
Yeah.
The council has the power to appoint the town manager and to remove the town manager, and to appoint the town clerk and to remove the town clerk. I don't think we should be changing that sentence. Those are important things that you have to have in place. And they're right there, black and white, enumerated, big hard fist punch kind of sentences,
I agree with that. And to that point, though, the last town clerk was hired by the manager and not vetted or interviewed or anything.
It was presented to the council and the council had a say. The audit, that was an order where,
There was only one person put up,
Not a quorum?
so we never had a choice.
Well,
The council didn't have a choice to appoint. They had an order with one person's name and that flew.
well, the council had a choice, Louis. They didn't exercise it. They accepted what was presented.
and if we
Granted,
change manner to,
but the council may be not aware, being aware of what's in the charter, you know.
like,
And-
change manner to process, then you have a mechanism to have that discussion, Louis. I mean, you
Yeah.
probably did anyways, but, it clarifies it.
Well, it's kind of like the school board. We had one person we appointed without any type of conversations or hearings or trying to recruit who might be interested. And then we immediately went to one where we opened it up because the council had that authority to do it. They accepted, and I'd had no problem with Kevin getting renamed or being put back on the school board. And then we moved it to other process to fill Peter's seat. This is kind of the same situation. We had the town clerk, which was the deputy town clerk, was presented to us as a council to name her taking Clerk Johnson's place.
Yeah, we still approved it.
Right, but I mean, technically, we appointed her because it came to us in the form of an order, which is what we do when we approve hiring our town attorney and hiring our town manager. We have an order. We also get an order when we bring in deputies.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
Yeah, and it could have been done in any different way if the council wanted to, but basically it was done just through an order process.
Yeah,
So is everyone okay with just changing manner to process and keeping the rest of that paragraph?
yeah.
Yeah, I think for now I am, but I'm also, Louis' discussion is influencing me as I read through this.
Hmm.
There may be other needs that we're gonna have to examine, and perhaps write new or request information on from MMA or something.
Yeah, and I think this is probably something we can find out how some other towns may have a different listing of offices that they appoint and that are hired. Other places have been through this. And of course, every town, every board of selectmen have that authority of hiring and firing everybody. So there's probably some towns with a council that also has some of those authorities. They're telling me it's supper time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're pushing on an hour and a half of this meeting now.
Well, look, our next agenda will be starting at C204B. And we'll do the same thing. If we spend the whole hour talking about B, then we do, but we'll start.
That's right.
next time. And I have tried to take notes of what's going to happen, of the changes that we made, and I will type those up and email those out. So everyone can see them and have the
And then
look at it and make sure you're happy with it. And if I have not represented what we said, email me back. If I misspelled something, email me back. I'm not that sensitive. Be nice though, like we asked Pete.
Begrudgingly.
Yeah,
You know how I am, Louis. I'm a sensitive guy.
we'll determine the manner and how we respond to that.
So,
All right, as long as we
all right.
research those few points.
So the next meeting will be,
In
2
2
weeks.
what is the date?
The second.
14th? No, 7th?
Second Monday is the 14th.
Yeah, 14th.
Okay,
20th.
Yep. 14th, okay.
Wow, Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
You guys got any hot dates?
And what is the next Monday? I gotta get back.
28th.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, we'll let Wally and Peter figure that one out. Oh, yeah. Sherry will be taken care of.
Okay. I will,
Brittany will be taken care of.
Monday the 28th.
Okay,
Well,
Just
I
a
gotta
minute.
say, this is, I think we're off to a good start. This is interesting to me to take this out, work it out, it's kind of fun, you know?
thank you. I'm signing off. Take care of the pups. All
Have a good
see you,
day.
Charlie.
right,
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
See you guys.
Stay warm.
All right.